to today's webinar. Like Judy mentioned, we're going to be talking about working with contacts in the system. So just a basic agenda. We're going to just talk about some basics and tips with working with contacts, and then we're going to spend most of the time in a demo where we're going to look at contacts within other records, within views, and within a marketing list. So just talking about the basic and tips. Contacts, exactly what they sound like, they're individual people within the CRM. So we talked about accounts previously. Those are the organizations. Contacts are the individual people. Now, even though you have both accounts and contacts, you do not necessarily have to relate a contact to an account. There is a hierarchy within the system that if you have activity on a contact that is related to account, that does roll up to the account. And we'll take a look at that in a moment so you can see what we are talking about. That is where it can be beneficial to have contacts related to an account, but it definitely is not a requirement. I put a PSA regarding status on pretty much every record type we talk about in CRM. I never recommend deleting accounts. I've got accounts here, but I don't recommend deleting contacts either. I don't recommend deleting any record. There is a status, and I always recommend you deactivate it if you no longer need that contact so you do not lose historical data. If you delete it, you will lose that. You can't go back and be like, who was that contact I talked to 2 years ago? So deactivate, do not delete. A couple other things that I would recommend when working with contacts, and we'll look at that on the form here in the demo in a moment. The type of contact. You have the ability to designate a relationship type. And why this can be beneficial is when you're gathering lists or you want to look for all your customers, maybe. You can have a relationship type of customer or vendor, partner, things like that. But maybe you want a list of just show me all my customers because I want to email them this promotion. Maybe you don't want to email your partners, vendors, or you could even have competitors you're tracking within the CRM. So it is helpful to have a type of contact so you can filter down to just those you are looking for when you are gathering lists of data. Contact preferences can also be very helpful within your CRM. You can designate if a contact does or does not want to receive information. So if they want to receive emails, or maybe they don't want to receive emails, they just want to receive phone calls, you can designate their contact preferences. And then just a quick rundown of what we're going to look at the demo. We are going to take a look at that hierarchy information that I mentioned just a little bit ago. But some tips when you're working with contacts within another record, we are going to look at something called a quick view form to allow you to access that information. We are going to look at contacts within a view. So if you want to pull some data from the contact form to use within maybe a list. And then we're going to look at marketing lists and how you can identify contacts within a marketing list. So let me go ahead and end that. And here you can see my demo CRM that I have, and we are on a contact record. I'm going to pull up a different contact here so we can see the hierarchy, but what I want to call out on this one, we had talked about the contact preferences and then also the type of contact. So here you can see we identified this contact as an employee, but we also have customer or vendor, and you can customize these lists. And this is where you could identify that type of contact, and then you could pull the list. I want to send something to all my customers. I want to send something to my employees or my vendors. It's very helpful. With contact preferences, we have that on our details tab here. But when we're looking at this, you can choose if they have a preference, like always call, don't email, or you can say allow or do not allow for some different contact methods. There are some old ones here like fax or physical mail, but this does allow you to have, maybe people don't want your email newsletters or something like that, and they've expressed that. You can track that here. So those are the couple of tips that I have for tracking within the contact. But I'm going to pull up one of my contacts that I have here. Miss Jenny Johnson. So I mentioned the hierarchy setting with accounts, and you can see here I have Jenny associated with an account ABC Training. And we can see that I sent Jenny an email back August of last year. So why it can be beneficial to associate a contact with an account is that hierarchy where everything rolls up to the account. So I'm going to swap over to the account view here. And now we're looking at that ABC Training. And if I look at the notes and events here, you can see there's a lot more because it tracks everything, opportunities and everything. But down here, we see this is that same email that I sent to Jenny. So I can look at the account and see that interaction that I had with her. I don't have to go into each individual contact. So if you have 5 contacts related to one account, you could go into the account page and see all of that email interaction with any of those contacts. So that is a benefit for relating your contacts with accounts. Okay, and I know that specifically today, we are going to be looking at contacts within an opportunity, but contacts can be related with pretty much any record type, whether it's opportunity, cases, projects, all of those different types of entities. And it's going to work pretty much the same way. There's usually a field that you would put the contact in, and then you can pull information up from the contact record. So I just want to highlight that. We're going to look at opportunities today, but you could make this work whether you're working in any of the other entities as well. So let's pull up an opportunity that I have. And I'm going to pull up this opportunity. So we see this is an opportunity that I have for ABC Training. Specifically, Jenny is my contact here. Now this is really great. Maybe I want to contact her about whatever this is. If I'm going to sell her something or I need to get her a quote, that's great. But generally, how would I contact her? A lot of times the way it's initially set up, you would have to select the link for Jenny to pull up her information and things like that. So it can be beneficial to create what is called a quick view form that you place within your opportunity form. And I'm going to show you an example here of one that I have. I already have the basic contact card created. This is all done within your CRM customizations, what we're showing now. So I have a basic quick view form created, and you create this form within the contact. So when you're actually customizing the system, this is a form you create under contact, and then we are going to place that quick view form on the opportunity form. So just know that you're going to have to work between those two entities. The information I pulled into this quick view form is just the name, company information, email, mobile, and business phone. You can pull any of the fields from the contact. So if I wanted to pull in that contact type so I can see if she's an employee, customer, or vendor, you can pull in any of the different fields. It's just a matter of dragging it onto the canvas. But we're going to say I'm happy with this, so I would save and publish this form. So let me go ahead and we will move that off. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the opportunity form. And here is what my opportunity form looks like. And within this, I'm going to say underneath the contact, I want that little form to pop up so I can see her information right there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert a quick view form. I'm just going to label this contact information. Within the name, you can't have any spaces, so that's why I just kept that as contact, but the label is what would appear on the form. I say to display that. Now the field that I want to reference that contact field because we're going to pull from the contact. And the quick view form, I've got quite a few of them in here, but we were just looking at that contact card. So I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And then I'm going to pull it up here. It automatically went to the bottom of this section. I'm just going to pull it up so it's right underneath the contact. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save And I'm going to publish this. And that's just going to take a moment. I'll move that up because now we're done with that opportunity form. Let's go ahead. I'm going to refresh my screen here. It takes just a minute or two to usually update. Okay, so you see now underneath this contact where I input Jenny, it's pulling up that information from her contact card. So you can see here's her email and her phone number. So when I come in as a salesperson to work on this opportunity, I can just pick up and call her, or I can send her an email straight from here. I don't have to refer to any other record. One thing when working with contacts and relating them to accounts, we've seen where we enter that organization, the company information on the contact record itself. You also can designate a primary contact within any account. So if I look at ABC training here, I've designated Jenny as the primary contact. That's just another field within the account form. And I actually have a quick view form on my account form here that is pulling in saying, here's her job title, her email, and her phone number. And that's pulling once this primary contact is filled in. So that's another way that you can have, who would be, if you have 5, 10, 15 contacts related to one organization, but who's the person that you need to contact? Who is that primary person you would reach out to if you have some new information you want to share with them, or you have, a billing concern or something like that? You can designate a primary contact. Okay, let's look at opportunities again and talk about contacts within a view. So when I'm looking at my open opportunities, a cool feature of CRM is you have this list and you also can export it to Excel. So sometimes if you have salespeople on the road or project managers out on the road, they like to print out a list or work from just a list instead of looking at those individual records. But there's no way for them to know how they can reach their contact by looking at this list. And they don't want to go into each individual record. You can add information from a related record type on any view. So in this case, on this opportunity view, we want to add in some contact information. We want to have specifically their phone number. So with this, and I've already got it up here where I can customize my view, and I've got this view up. This is my open opportunities view. And you can search for things. So for example, I had been searching for email earlier. But if I want to say, I want to find phone number, and I'm going to say, I want to pull in that business phone number. I'm just going to drag it here and I want it right after the contact. So now I've got the contact, the business phone number. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Doesn't look like I have a lot of business phone numbers. Let's also pull the mobile phone number in there. Might have a few more of those. Okay, I'm going to use the mobile phone. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to remove this business phone. Let's go ahead and save that. And let's publish it. And it's just taking a minute here. And now what's going to happen is once this view is published, your project manager, salesperson, whoever it is, can go ahead and look at the view directly within CRM, and they can pick up and call that contact without having to go into the record. It's all about making your end users' lives a little bit easier. So being able to pull this data in really does help. The important note with that is you want to make sure people are updating the CRM. If these are bad contact numbers, it's not going to help you a bit. So make sure people are doing that. Okay, so the last thing I want to look at today in regards to context is using them within marketing lists. So you have two different types of marketing lists within your CRM system. You have static marketing lists where you can add individual members and it just always stays that way unless you physically remove someone or add someone new to the list. There also is dynamic marketing lists where you can create a search criteria, and then when you pull it up, it will always be current. It will always look based on that criteria. So if you add 5 accounts after you set up your initial dynamic marketing list and they meet that criteria, when you go to use that marketing list, those 5 accounts or contacts would be there. And you can relate marketing lists to accounts, contacts, and leads, but today we're just looking at contacts since that's what we're dealing with. So there's a couple ways within the contact record itself. So let's take a look at Jenny because she's my favorite person to pick on here. I'm going to go into Jenny's contact record. And if I want to add her to a marketing list, it's just up here in the white toolbar. I'm going to say add to the marketing list. If your toolbar is smaller than mine, not appearing, any extra things that don't appear on your white toolbar will be in this little ellipsis section. And this changes based on how much room you have. So if I shrunk my screen down, more of these icons would be under that little ellipsis. But we're looking for add to marketing list. And now I'm going to look for a specific marketing list. I'm going to just hit the magnifying glass. I don't have a lot of marketing lists. I could also start typing in and it would appear as well. This is only pulling from static marketing lists, not dynamic ones. So I'm going to say, yes, this is the one I want to add her to. And I'm going to go ahead and add that. So you can do that. If you have static marketing lists, you can add an individual contact when you're in their record, or you can manage it from the marketing list itself. So I'm going to go into the marketing list and we're going to look at this static one first. So from here, this is just some information. It's a static marketing list and it's targeted at contacts. When you set up a marketing list, this is where you define what record type you're looking at. We're looking for contacts. So in this, you can see Jenny is already added. If I wanted to add someone else, I can add from here and I could say, let's look for John Marsh. We're going to add him. And I can add him to the marketing list as well. And then if I wanted to refresh, add another existing contact, you can do it here as well in the little ellipsis. If I wanted to get rid of someone, so maybe I don't want Jenny to be there, I could select her and remove her. Let's look at the dynamic marketing list. I do see dynamic marketing lists used a lot more. The static ones are nice if you know you're going to want to pick, a dozen people from your large list and it's a very random group of people, but mostly people do use these dynamic marketing lists because you can put in that criteria. So again, here we've targeted at contacts. And we're going to go ahead. There's no add button here because we're not adding individual members. We are going to go to manage members. And it's going to pop up a little box and it's going to say, okay, what do we want to look for? So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, we're looking for contacts. All my saved views are in here. Say I want to start with active contacts. I am not interested in anyone we've deactivated. And it's loaded a line saying, okay, status equals active. Well, what else do I want to look for? Maybe I'm going to do an email campaign and I'm only interested with people that I can contact via email. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a row and I'm going to say, okay, I want to look for the email and I want the email must contain data. And you can add so many different clauses in here. You can look at all of the different fields. You could be like their address, maybe the state is within Washington if you want to do a Washington state. I mean, all the different fields are in here. You could do a lot, but we're going to keep it simple. We just want to look for active contacts that have an email. I'm going to click find to find my members. And here it's giving me a preview. You have 311 people that have an email address. And you can go back to the query if you want to adjust it. It lets you see that preview first. Or you're like, nope, this is good. You can go ahead and use the query, and then it will populate all of those members on your list. So then, if I create this maybe for a monthly newsletter that I want to send out, and I create this as my dynamic marketing list, and between now and the next time I send a newsletter out, I add 50 more contacts, they'll be on this list the next time I want to use it. So it is helpful to do more dynamic work, especially when dealing with things like contacts, where you should be getting new ones relatively often. Awesome. And that brings us to the end of our demo today. Does anyone have any questions or things they'd like to take another look at? Wonderful. Well, if you think of any questions afterwards or want to see anything else, please feel free to reach out to us. And here is, you can connect with us via our website or our email address or our office phone number. So definitely feel free to reach out as you are working with your CRM. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me today, and have a great rest of your day.